This time on MTV, Easter, to me, the smell of deviled eggs.
I've never eaten a Three Musketeers bar since.
I got a blue chicken. Hey, this week we've been reading in the book of Psalm. What does it mean to fear God?
It's not that as much as it is a respect.
Sunday really doesn't mean that much to a lot of us anymore. Were there couches in the Bible?
And they had loungers.
Is the word couch
In the Bible.
is the phrase, I am nothing but skin and bone. Is that in the Bible or not in the Bible?
Mike the Baptist. Hey, welcome to Mike the Baptist. I'm Mike the Baptist. Glad to have you. Neil Andrews is here.
Hey. Where?
You were supposed to be here, so it's good that you're here. But anyway, welcome back.
Thank you.
Been a couple
Nice
weeks
to be
since
back.
you've
It has.
been in the chair there. H.D. Jones.
Hey, it's good to be
You're
here.
always in that chair.
I know, right?
But anyway, it is good to have you back.
You don't want me in that chair, I promise.
I don't know. We might try that sometime.
That'd be really confusing.
I think we did that one Wednesday night. You were actually over here and we had a conversation. That one caught everybody off guard. They tuned in looking for their church service on
Right.
Wednesday night, but there wasn't one. It was just us. So I don't know. I did hear some comments about that. They weren't that bad.
They weren't that terrible. Well, good.
Anyway, welcome to all you new subscribers, you old subscribers. Make a comment. I think you're supposed to make comments on these YouTube videos. It's something to do with algorithms, et cetera, et cetera. And anyway, just make a comment. Say something nice if you can. MikeTheBaptist.com. It's on the bottom of your screen there. It's a website. Comments at MikeTheBaptist.com is the email address if you are so inclined as to send us an email. Pretty well covered today.
That was quick.
What are we talking about in this Bible study thing in the middle of the program today?
I'll be looking at, there's really 3 Psalms that we've read this week, and they have a lot to do with sin and forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
David's view of that.
Should be a good talk.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in the middle of the program. End of the program, of course, we'll slide into an episode of Inny or Outty. I have something to really challenge you guys. You being of...
Is it pork and beans?
It's not pork and beans.
Okay.
Was it you that mentioned pork and beans recently? So that would be a good Inny or Outty. I don't know that it would, but... Anyway, we'll get to that at the end, but first... I just want to remind everybody that we have a buzzer, and we use that if you get too churchy, you get buzzed. You will catch a buzz on Mike the Baptist if you get too churchy.
Neil's usually pretty good for a buzz or two.
Complicated thought. Before we do all that, let's go to the front porch. Have us a quick little front porch visit. Won't take long. It's a pretty simple front porch topic today. I'd like to talk about, as you know, since it was just Easter, I get to thinking back when I was a kid about things a lot. Sometimes wishing I was still there, sometimes wishing I wasn't. You know how that works. You get older, you're glad you're older because you're smarter, but you kind of miss, you know how it goes. I was thinking about Easter, and I thought it'd be interesting to talk for a minute, knowing that we're going to get to hear from the Jones family Easter, which should be interesting. But anyway, I thought it'd be neat to talk about things you remember about Easter when you were a kid. Like, let me start. I'll lay out the foundation for you. Deviled eggs.
Yeah, yeah.
Easter, to me...
Should the word devil
I was just thinking.
and Easter go together?
It's okay now. I've buzzed it.
Okay.
It's kind of like being a Catholic and shaking beads or something. Whatever they do. I don't understand. It's called Mike the Baptist. It's not called Mike the Catholic. But anyway, you got me off track there. Deviled eggs. So when I was a kid, I can recall the feeling. I'm big on the feeling of things, these moments when you're a kid and there are these certain feelings. Mama, my grandma, it's Arkansas, I remember. Anyway, my brother and I were like a year and a few months apart. But she bought us these short sets, a little shirt and shorts that were identical. So
Were they garanimals?
I don't know. No,
I
they
loved
didn't have
animals
back then. It's usually like some solid color short and a striped shirt. But anyway, so there's all these old black and white photos of us as kids, and we're standing out in the yard and we got the same short set on. But anyway, I can recall the feeling of some Easters, are warm, and some it's still kind of cool. But I can recall the warmer ones when you're showing up at church or a family gathering for an egg hunt, I can recall the anticipation, the excitement of that egg hunt, and the smell of deviled eggs. Those are things that, to me, scream Easter.
Do deviled eggs smell?
Deviled eggs have a smell. Have you not ever sniffed a one? You need to sniff a one. That could be a new phrase. So I was talking to a good friend of mine the other day about the egg hunt thing, and I always had this real odd feeling about the egg hunt because I can remember being excited. You know that fake grass they put in those baskets?
Oh, yeah.
That always fascinated me. I guess more than the actual hunt. That fake grass. There was something about it that fascinated me. But I never found the most eggs. In fact, I can still feel it to this day how irritated or annoyed or inferior or something I would feel because the kid next to me had a basket full of eggs and I had two.
That's where your ADHD got to you.
I guess so. It's like just when I would get to one, I would spot it. Some other kid would snatch it up in front of me. So I have this odd dislike for egg hunts at the same time I was liking them. But okay, I've laid the foundation for you.
I'll just throw in one quick comment. So this year at our house, Harper, who's 3,
Yes.
we made them all line up, get ready, and some of the older kids got in front of her and grabbed some eggs. I think she had sort of spotted and kind of like, that's my egg. Bless her, threw her bucket down, squalled, went ran, hid behind the tree.
Easter,
right? Aww. Yeah.
But you know what's neat about that? That'll be a story from now on in the family to her.
Because we're all laughing at her.
Yes. Okay, Neil, what do you remember about Easter?
I was just thinking about how you could make Easter easier, you know? You change the T to an I.
It took me a second, but I'm with you now.
Yeah. My memory is that I ate too many Three Musketeers bars. Got sick. Have never eaten a Three Musketeers bar since.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I ate yours for you because I really like those.
Yep.
That is the soft one, right? Yeah, boy.
Yep.
But I never ate too many of them in one sitting either.
Yep.
I can kind of see that. That's your Easter memory?
That is my memory. Yep.
That was quick.
Sorry.
No. We were just talking in the green room before we started that we're going to try to move these along a little better.
I'm doing my best.
That helps.
Well, HD, we've reserved plenty of time for...
So the Jones is like going to my grandparents. It's a situation where all the grandkids would come and every year and they would do all this fun stuff. We had the egg hunts, and we always had the dyed eggs. And the dye would get all on you, and then I guess in the 70s they had the little marshmallow eggs in the plastic saran wrap. My mom loved those.
Hard, crunchy exterior.
But
tasted like dye.
It was nothing but sugar. But I remember doing all that. But one year I got a blue chicken. It literally was a real live chicken that they had dyed, and it was blue.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if we did that today? I mean, people would freak out.
They did it in Arkansas.
It'd be cruelty to animals or something. But I had a little blue chicken.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a chicken coop. We didn't have any of that. And so...
How did it taste?
We tied... yeah, right? I don't know. Well, that's the dog that ate it.
Raspberry.
Rough. Did you say rough? We tied a string around this chicken's leg and then put a nail in the ground. So the little dude could just, I'm like, that's just a weird memory.
But I recall those. You could buy them in town at the feed store somewhere.
Yep. Co-op.
Colored chickens.
Yep. Pink, purple.
What an odd thing to do.
Yeah. We don't do that anymore.
Rabbits, didn't they do that with bunnies too?
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what they do with elephants, though, is to train them.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
they take that would take a lot of dye.
It would take a lot of dye.
I've used a lot of gray dye.
Okay, this got off the rails, but
so I have to add to this year because my memories from the past, they're fun, but then they fade. They're kind of cloudy. So this year,
ginkgo biloba in your diet will change that.
My
we'll look that up.
Bologna, what? Ginkgo bolognas. My oldest son has 3 kids, 6 years and younger. And my dad had talked to somebody who had some pygmy goats. And somehow my dad got involved in this, went and bought a huge, like, crate for a big dog, brought it over to my house. I had to put it together. He goes over to these people's house, gets these 3 pygmy goats, puts them in the back of his truck, takes them over to the barn. Well, I mean, literally, it's almost time to eat. And my son and his brother decide it would be a great idea to go get the goats and bring them over so the kids could see them. Well, they get over to the barn, and 2 of the goats are outside of the crate. And I don't know why the coyotes didn't get the goats, which would have been even a more hilarious story, but they wrangled up the goats, put them all back in the crate. Well, the goats have messed all over my dad's truck, chewed up some stuff, you know what goats do. So they bring them to the house, set them out in the yard. Of course, all the kids are just ecstatic. Here's these goats, yeah. And they open the door of this pen. Well, it was like, boom, they were gone. And they're chasing goats around, and then there's adults screaming at kids because kids are screaming at goats. And I finally looked at all of them, and I'm like, I'm going to eat dinner. I'm hungry. I've already preached 2 sermons today, and I am really hungry, so I will see y'all inside at some point. I am not chasing goats.
So this is recent.
Oh, it was, yeah.
So your family's carrying on these traditions.
I'm like, golly, y'all, it's too, and make it easier, right? You're making it way too complicated.
It used to just be egg hunt and deviled eggs.
Yeah. So, and throwing up.
Yeah, and that. Interesting. Okay, nice little pleasant talk about Easter memories. If you have one you'd like to share with us, make a comment about it. The goat thing's pretty good. I like that. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, come back and talk about some stuff we found in the Bible. I don't know what else to say about colored chickens and 3 Musketeers too much and all that deviled eggs. So just imagine, just think about your Easter, okay? We'll be back. Are you tired of blending in with the crowd? Do you want to make a statement that says, I love baptisms and fashion? Then visit MikeTheBaptist.com today and order an MTB t-shirt or hoodie just in time for spring. MTB gear isn't just a t-shirt, it's a movement, literally. You'll be moving through life this spring and summer with a new confidence, a new style, and the occasional confused look from strangers. Mike the Baptist shirts, hoodies, and onesies come in all sizes. Yes, even baby-sized, because who says baby can't preach? MTB gear will give you the confidence to stand out in a crowd or a baptismal pool in colors as bold as your beliefs and sizes as big as your faith. What are you waiting for? Stand out. Be bold. Order online now at MikeTheBaptist.com/merchandise. Get your holy swag on now at MikeTheBaptist.com/merchandise. Not responsible for extreme amounts of attention or spontaneous moments of self-confidence. Hey, we're back. Neil.
Yo.
Tell us something interesting about the Bible. Just off the top of your head, something interesting about it. It's such a great book.
To have had 66 books written at different time periods by completely different people. Some of them knew each other, but not all that many. Just blows me away.
You hear that a lot about the Bible. Mm-hmm. Every time I hear that, it's still fascinating. Every single time I hear that brought up, it's still fascinating, and it's a great argument for how could that be right?
Right. Because the only writing that's been as popular, well, not as popular, but the Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey, was old and it has stayed in print and it's been around for that kind of period of time. Mm-hmm. But that's one author, and the Bible had at least, a
bunch,
all of those contributors to that, and the consistency, and even I would say if God was not involved in that, there is no way, absolutely no way, the continuity, and from the Old Testament to the New, and I've got some friends in a denomination that think the Old Testament was more for folks back then,
the old,
and the New Testament was more for us, so they don't pay as much attention to the Old Testament. And I always say, what is it that Jesus is quoting from? It's the Old Testament. So
Not to mention the New Testament's 2,000 years old, so isn't it old too?
That's kind of for the old folks too.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, I'd like to point out that Homer in his Odyssey really was better known by Jose.
He was?
Absolutely. Look it up. Google it.
I'll look that up. Here's something for you to look up. Homer was from Arkansas.
I bet he was. And he was married to Marge.
Speaking of talking about things in the Bible.
That took me a second. Sorry.
Hey, this week we've been reading in the book of Psalm, and the Psalm is a great collection of different authors. There's so many different authors, but we're looking at Davidic Psalms, or songs that were written by David, and particularly Psalm 25, Psalm 51, and Psalm 103, and all of them have they have some real similarities. And one of the things is the fear of the Lord. And I kind of wanted to talk with you guys about that today, to go, what does it mean to fear God? And how do we apply that in our lives?
Neil?
Way to pass that off.
Michael?
Well, no, I was involved in technical things there, and when I realized you were asking us, it caught me a little off guard.
It's a fascinating thing, because the word fear can be interpreted different ways and different emphases on that. And I would say there's to me, the fear is not like, oh, I'm scared. A scared, right? A scared?
Afraid.
I'm scared.
A scared? Okay. It's not that as much as it is a respect and an honoring of and holding in high esteem. That's kind of how I would paint that. For me, anyway, that's how I would paint that, as opposed to our common
Of being afraid.
Understanding of,
I think we've talked about this before at this table. The fear to me is reverence. Respect and reverence. Did you say respect, or
I did?
Yeah. So respect and a reverence, I guess, is how I would categorize that. You know, in the old days in churches, fear, I think, meant, fire and brimstone coming down on you kind of fear. But I think it's a lot deeper than that, because if it was just the being afraid and scared fear, I don't think you could really come to your own potential if you were just scared all the time.
And if you're talking about, here's a buzzworthy phrase, free will.
Oh, yes.
If you're talking
That's
about,
churchy.
But that's what we believe in. We believe that God gave us the ability to make a decision,
right?
And that if you're scared into something, you're not making a balanced decision. You're doing it because you're scared.
Yeah, and it'll
and that's
kind of
not,
clamp you down in a way.
Do you want? Does your wife love you because she loves you, or does she love you because she's scared of you?
Yeah.
And do you love God? Well, you guys don't answer that, okay?
We're not going to.
Don't answer it.
We didn't look at each other. Just
let's say
there.
Hypothetically.
Yes.
But it's that, the Lord wants your love, your genuine love, not your I'm scared of you love.
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know if that
It
answered
does.
what you were.
So why did you ask us that, H?
Because that's in these Psalms, and when you read the Bible, there are a lot of places it talks about the fear of God. And I think you guys are right on that. I think it encompasses more. I think there is that reality. Well, Jesus said, don't fear somebody who can kill your body. Well, I don't know about you. If somebody walked in with a gun, I would be afraid. He said, don't just fear that person, but you need to fear the Lord who can kill your body and your soul. And when you think about, we will call people that we would say, Moses is in heaven. We'd say, I think Moses is in heaven. Well, what happened to him at the burning bush? I mean, he was afraid. He was in awe. I'm sure there was respect. I'm sure there was, but he was Isaiah. He fell down, and I'm a man of unclean lips.
Right.
And even John, when the revelation, he fell as a dead man. And so, while I think we don't need to see it just as a God's going to beat us up kind of thing, but we need to know He can beat us up.
Yes.
That He holds our life in His hand. He holds our eternity in His hand, and whatever He decides to do is absolutely right and holy. And so I think it kind of encompasses all that stuff. And God doesn't want to just be seen as, in the Old Testament, he's called El, which means the powerful one. But he also wants to be seen as the Father, the Abba Father, even, which is more like Daddy. And so I think it's one of those phrases that we can get out of balance on sometimes. We can go too far to the side of hell and fire and brimstone, but we can also get to the other side where he's your friend and he's okay with everything. Yeah. It's that balance of holding all that stuff together.
Don't you think there's a little bit of the other fear missing in the church world today? Like it might lean a little too much to the "I'm your friend" thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
To where you kind of get to where you're not really afraid of him anymore in the sense that he can bring it down on you.
Yeah.
I mean, in the Old Testament, it happened. I mean, it was big time bad things, came down.
When he said, "Don't touch the ark," and the guy reaches down just to touch the cart that the ark was on, he fell dead.
So here's an odd question, just to complicate things. Why would those things not be happening today?
Oh, I think they do.
Okay, explain yourself.
I think they do. I think, not that I think YouTube is everything out there, but you can go on YouTube and type in, watch when this person blasphemed God and what happened. There have been lightning strikes. There have been people that passed out. There have been, and literally they're saying some very cruel things about God or untrue things about God, and it's kind of interesting. So I think they do happen.
So we're not presented with it the way they would have
Correct.
been. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Where in the Bible, you have, this is the word of God that he's given to us to understand, and he's the same yesterday and today and forever. And so I think we have to be careful to say, oh, he's the New Testament God now. He's a lot more gracious. He's a lot more, patient. He was those things in the Old Testament as well. I think where it comes back to for us is, again, just that balance of, yes, reverence and awe and respect, but also understanding he has the right. I remember a guy gave this illustration one time. He said, if you take your child to a birthday party and your child starts acting up, you as the dad would be like, you'd pull them aside and you'd be like, hey, calm down. You're embarrassing me. You need to, get along with your friends. He said, if your kid's just a holy terror and goes in there and starts opening up the presents and all that stuff, you'd pull him aside, maybe swat him a little bit or give him a little more stern talking, and you let the kid go one more chance, and the kid goes in there and just dumps the cake over and is just causing. He said, at some point you're going to pick that kid up, put him in your arms and say, we're going home. Mm-hmm. And his point was, how many people have died because they represent the kingdom of God and they didn't fear God, and God said, you've embarrassed me long enough. Let's go on home. So I think we have to kind of bear that in mind, that it's possible. If it happened in the scripture, it can happen to us. And that's, again, that balance. I don't think we have to lay in bed at night and be afraid of God like he's the boogie monster, like Jason, Friday 13th going to come and just kill you. But at the same time, if we're living in sin, that should bother us.
Seems like there's a difference. Just thinking about it while you were talking, which I'll do a lot while you're talking. I'll think about something else, but it seems like there's a difference here that I was kind of thinking about, is that in the days of the Bible, it was tribal. It was group. It was, and what happened to somebody, often it was across that whole gang of people. In today's modern culture, everybody's kind of solo. Everybody's on their own, especially in America. You're free to come and go. Nobody knows what you do during the day.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yes, so I can see where, back in those days, those stories in the Bible where God had enough and let something happen. A lot of people, it happened to a lot of people at once, and so the story was big. And nowadays, if it's just an individual, which is the way it seems to be now, because he doesn't seem to be doing things to the entire country of America at once. I think some things he is, but these devastating things where he's raining down some little fire. Could it be that it's more isolated and we don't?
I think it's a cultural thing too, and that we're at a place when you read Scripture, you know that they had a holy fear of God, and that they recognized who He was. And I don't think our culture recognizes anymore.
Oh, no.
I remember growing up as a child. I've said this before too. What they call blue laws.
Yeah.
And
I grew up
that
in
were
those.
legitimate. They were written in the books, and you don't open up for business on the holy day,
Right.
on the Sabbath. And we just kind of toss that to the side now. It's not as important as my son plays football on Sunday morning, so we've got to go do that.
I've been watching that for years. That's really disturbed me in a lot of ways for years, how that just has disintegrated into Sunday really doesn't mean that much to a lot of us anymore.
It's
like
just
it
another
used
day.
to.
Right.
It's another day, but maybe even if it's not another day, it's a day where there's a certain set of things you do because it's that day that aren't necessarily related to being reverent of what that day is all about.
Well,
Does
we
that
don't
make sense?
recognize Sabbath anymore either. I mean,
I think that's what I was trying to
as a
say.
culture, that's what I think that is too. What you were trying to say is as a
it's sad
culture.
to me. I remember when in the Blue Law days, that had to be kind of your focus because there was nothing else. I remember that being a big, huge focus, and nobody was in a hurry. And you wound up visiting people. You wound up being really, really involved in whatever was happening at your church, and that was your day. And then you were right back there in the evening after a quick nap or something, and so that was your whole day because, I don't even remember gas stations opening up on Sunday where I lived. They may have, but I don't remember that. I feel like, no, it was a law in Arkansas.
I mean, you also didn't have 24-hour businesses.
Oh, no.
That was a...
Part of the other thing you talk about, it is a cultural thing. There's a story in the Bible where Korah has this rebellion against Moses, and the ground opens up and 3,000 people die. They would attribute that to God's wrath falling on Korah and those people. We would have some scientific reasoning. There was a sinkhole and
Climate change.
something like that. And so again, those things are still happening, and we just blame it on the weather. We blame it on some anomaly type thing. And
Why are we talking about this?
because it's back to that fear of God thing.
Okay.
But I think where I kind of want to end up on this is the other thing that David recognizes is not only the need to fear God because He's ultimately in control of everything, but also the faithfulness of God, that His love is overarching. And so again, we don't just have to fear Him as some kind of horrible monster in heaven that just can't wait to thump us in the head. But we need to understand He's got holy standards, and He's not going to back down. But He's also this loving God that provides ways for us to correct course. He provides ways for us to be better. He provides, what's Easter about? He provides ways for us to be holy when we're not.
It's getting so difficult in our culture, our modern culture, to talk about things like you just said without sounding like we're crazy people. Like, why in the world? I know a lot of people who aren't soaked in churchy stuff, as I like to say it, have to look at us and say, why are you focusing on something like that when you could be out here living it up? And and why are you thinking in terms like that? I mean, why I think they look at it as though we're keeping ourselves down, rather than we're actually trying to
We're not
pick
enlightened.
everything up.
We're not enlightened in our thinking.
Yeah, and even if we don't think we're enlightened, it's such a better way to think and live. And so it's odd when you're on this side of this equation to think about how somebody else couldn't see how we're only wanting to make things happier for you by sharing with you some things we know here, because it's all better. It's bewildering to me sometimes why people are unwilling to consider that. They're just unwilling to even think about it.
And when life is so difficult, and what Christianity offers us is life beyond the grave, right? Life beyond this life. I just left a funeral, and the lady that had passed away, good dear friend of our family's, sweet lady, but she's had some trouble in her life. And to the point where she's had cancer for the last probably 15, 20 years, just a lot of health issues and stuff. And here toward the end, it was really bad, and I went to that funeral, not sad at all. I'll miss seeing her, but I was so glad for her because I know she's been miserable for the last 15 years.
Well, let's see. How do we say it? Give it a shot. And you don't have much to lose, do you? Well, actually, you have everything.
You have everything to lose, but yeah, there's nothing to lose. Trying. Even the Bible says, "Come and taste and see that the Lord is good." But He is faithful. That's one of the things that David found, that God was faithful to him, even when David sinned, a huge amount of sin. God was still faithful to him, and the consequences didn't necessarily leave David's life because they were difficult, but God was faithful to him.
Even if you are not capable of being perfect, you can still be saved. Bible talks about that the whole way through, doesn't it? Like you can still participate in all this. Even if you are even if you think you're the worst human being on earth, this guy that we talk about, this sounds corny. It still sounds corny to me. He loves you, and He thinks about you. So the Creator of the universe thinks about every one of us individually. That's worth something. To me, that's what would save me if I was at the very last knot on the rope, to hear that He had thought of me and cares. To me, that would be a good place to start kind of moving back the other way from things. That's just me.
Yep.
Anyway, give it a shot. Any parting words before we
I think you wrapped it up good.
move along?
The last knot in the rope. I like that.
The last knot in the rope. Actually, I've kind of been there. We'll talk about that someday. Right now, we're going to take a break, come back, play Inny or Outty. I'm excited. Does it show?
It's written on your face.
Thank you. Okay. We'll be back.
Hey everybody, it's time to play America's almost favoriteest new game show, Inny or Outty, where we challenge our guests to figure out if a phrase we give them is actually in the Bible or out of the Bible. Sharpen your wits, guest. You're about to be in the hot seat of Bible stuff, because you're the next contestant on Inny or Outty. Here's Mike.
Boy, isn't Inny right.
Take two?
Boy, isn't.
Take three?
Isn't this exciting? Anyway, we're all kind of sleepy, I think. Some days we show up here at the Red Oak Studios. They're almost too comfortable in a way some days. And we usually tape right after lunch. And so, anyway. And the chairs can get pretty comfortable because you lean back. Anyway, that's all free information. Today on Inny or Outty, we're going to ask some things and ask the others if that's in the Bible or out of the Bible. And it would be either an Inny or an Outty. There you go. That's it.
That's easy enough.
Easy enough. There are no legitimate prizes or anything, so don't get too excited. But it's fun to kind of see if you know the answer to these before we talk them through and show you that we usually don't. So I'll start us. HD and I are both taking a turn in the power seat today. I'll start by asking you gentlemen, were there couches in the Bible? The word couch meaning sofa, etc., etc. Were there couches? Did those people have a couch in the Bible?
Neil's just like, well, sure they did. I mean, Adam and Eve had them, didn't they?
What else did you sit on?
Well, I was thinking
B.F. Myers.
I was thinking about
B.F. Myers hadn't opened then.
No, I was thinking about being in Pompeii and seeing. So that would have been, 45 A.D. or around that
They had a couch back
time
then.
period. Well, they had furniture and they had loungers.
Ah, but did
And
they call
when
it a couch?
So you're saying this is the literal word couch in the Bible?
Yep.
I'll say, now you confused me. I thought you were just saying, did they have couches in the Bible? Because, I mean,
Yeah.
Well, now I've seen the drawing, so I know they had chairs.
No,
mean,
but
those
when
are
they
real,
ate,
right?
they would recline.
Yes. But did that mean they recline on the floor?
No,
Okay.
but I don't know if it said couch or not.
Yeah, that's the question.
Probably said sofa, but I don't know if it said couch.
Sofa sounds more modern than couch.
What about love seats?
I'm kidding. Yeah. It is the Bible.
Futon. Got to be in there, right?
That's probably Aramaic.
Is the word couch
In the Bible. Yeah, couch.
You sure you didn't look that up in crouch? Because crouch
I
is
actually did twice, so I wanted to make sure because I knew one of you across the table would bring something like that up.
Yep.
And I was correct.
Couch.
Couch.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think it is, to be honest.
Yeah, probably.
Why do you think it is? To be honest. And you followed up by saying, to be honest.
Solomon, had all those wives. He needed a nap on a couch somewhere. He needed some rest. I'm just saying.
Wise.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, me.
It's a modern sounding word, but I mean we know it's historically, because you were in Pompeii back in 40 AD.
Yeah. Saul.
Yeah.
I would think so.
I think Inny.
I would go with that.
The ones
way.
you saw in Pompeii, did they have it was long, had arms on the end? Just
It had just usually one end. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. That's those fancy kind of lounging type ones. Okay. So your answer is,
Inny.
you say it's an Inny.
Yeah. Might as well.
Let's go to the handwritten scriptures here on my fancy note.
Is that your?
Psalm 6:6. I am worn out from groaning. That's HD's point.
See?
All night long I flood my bed with weeping and drench my couch
There you
with
go.
tears.
There you go.
There were couches in the Bible.
That is good.
Congratulations. That was
Very
good.
good.
Y'all talked through that really good. I didn't know about the Pompeii thing, or I might have changed my subject because that was too easy. I didn't know there were actual photographs from the period.
It's not photographs.
It's the closest they had.
Lithographs.
Huh?
Isn't that what they call them?
Not that far back. Everything was painted back
Yeah,
then. They didn't
carved.
have. There were no.
Yeah, but
cameras.
isn't it called lithograph?
I don't know. It sounds good.
So the oldest ones have been daguerreotypes, tintypes, and daguerreotypes, but not back then.
Yeah, that was no.
They didn't have cameras in the Old Testament.
They were still chiseling stuff in rocks.
Yes. They didn't
Okay.
have books yet then either, too. So
Correct.
yeah.
Okay, I said correct like I knew. Okay, HD, what do you got?
Is the phrase, I am nothing but skin and bone.
Ooh.
Is that in the Bible or not in the Bible?
Oh. That's it like in a Weight Watchers ad, isn't it?
Or the
No, that's the opposite.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess it would be.
or the Way Down Workshop.
Right? Or the Way Up Workshop.
I am nothing but skin and bones. So the way it's phrased, I noticed, it's like a quote from somebody. I am nothing but skin and bones. Makes it sound like it's in there to me. What about you?
It does.
Really? This is too easy. Something's up. I am nothing but skin and bones. Paul might have said that in prison.
That's where my mind was going, but I don't know. He said a lot of things.
He did, and I wasn't there, but and I don't ever recall hearing anybody read that, but it would make sense, wouldn't it? Like him saying, "I'm nothing but skin and bones, but I'm still going to write you this letter." Well, I'm just kind of
I'm nothing but
paraphrasing.
skin and bone.
What?
But I'm going to write this letter.
Yeah, those two don't make any sense together.
That's
but
awesome, yeah.
Did it have the word nothing in it? Is that what you said?
Yes.
I am nothing but
I am nothing but.
skin and bones. Who else was exiled to an island in Patmos besides just him? Really, wasn't
That
it?
would have been John.
Yep. Not Paul. Gotta get my Bible story straight.
This is why we do so well at this game.
Yes, because
It's really a simple game, but
it's simple, but it really flushes you right out, don't it?
He had the same last name as you, too. Did you realize that?
Who?
John.
Baptist? Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Baptist.
MTB.
Okay.
I think it's in there.
I'll say any, but it's probably.
It could be
I don't
out, but it's
I'll vote any. Yeah.
it's odd just because it's brought up like that and ask, is that in the Bible? Well, we're saying Inny. HT, we believe it's an Inny.
Well, I was afraid you'd think that.
Oh.
Job says, all my intimate friends detest me, those I have loved are turned against me because I am nothing but skin and bones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Didn't have nothing to do with Paul or John or any of those guys. But
I started to be like, that's what Jesus said from the cross. How did y'all find
no. All right, good.
2 wins.
2 wins. That's a good day on Inny or Outty. 2 wins. I'd be curious to know if you listening won or not. We never really know. Don't you wish you knew how other people answered? I guess you could comment and tell us, but you wouldn't if you're wrong. So comment something else.
Please point out how much you missed.
Yes. Okay, good round. We'll come back to you bye here in a second, okay?
Oh, wow. What a great contestant and a fine sport today on Inny or Outty, America's almost favorite new game show. Study up, future guest people. You're next in the hot seat for Inny or Outty.
Hey, thanks for being with us again. It's always a pleasure. Hope you made it this far. If you didn't, you're not hearing this anyway, so it really doesn't matter. But we're thinking about you anyway.
Come back next
God
week.
loving you anyway. Another good talk. Bible talks are good. I noticed today we abbreviated the talk a little bit, but it was still really good. I like that. We might try that again next time. Or not. We'll see what happens.
Or not.
Neil Andrews, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
H.T. Jones,
Here.
always a pleasure. Thanks for sharing your Easter memories.
Blue chickens.
Blue chickens, goats, and 3 Musketeers.
There you go.
Yep, there's something for you to write. Stick up on your refrigerator.
There's a
just to
song in
remember.
there, isn't there?
Should be.
Could be.
Blue chickens, goats, and
3
Musketeers. That's a song. That could be made a song. We might work on that. Anyway, hope you come back next week. Visit us on the website. Whatever else you do, subscribe,
Buy some merchandise,
etc., all that stuff. But just come back and join us. It's fun. And who knows what will happen next week? Well, we do, but we're not telling you yet. So come back and join us and we'll
Find
see.
out.
Okay. Everybody have a good week, gentlemen. Have a good week.
You as well.
All of you listen, have a good week. I'm going to go have one too.
We're just Christians.
We are just Christians.
Trying.
Not to.
Cuss. I got to say it again.
There you go.
I almost forgot to say that. So thanks for saying it. See you next time.
Mike, the Baptist